decide if I love the bright red lipstick or not. Whatever, it's fine. Hi! This is my April wrap-up of all the books I read in April. Very belated. This is exciting for me because this is the first month since I've started my channel that I've had all the books that I read for that month still in my possession. Like, they haven't been put into a storage unit or shipped off somewhere or given back to the library or anything like that. I still have the physical copies of all the books I read for April. So yeah, let's just kick things off. So, as I said, April was, maybe I didn't say, April was the month for O.W.L.S, which was a month-long readathon that I participated in based off the O.W.L.S exams that take place in the Harry Potter universe. There were, I think, 12 prompts based on all the different classes. I did not complete 12 books. I read 7 books for the month, thus completed 7 of the class prompts. There's my stack. Isn't it lovely? Now, as I've mentioned before, the majority of my books are in a storage unit in Florida right now. That's fine. We're past it. We are living our best limited lifestyle. Now, I do have all these books right here. These are all my childhood books, my childhood bookshelf. So I do have access to these, technically, but I wanted books that were new, that I hadn't read before, so just worked with what I had. Kicking things off for the month, I have Spin the Dawn. This was the book for my divination prompt. The divination prompt was the easiest for me to use because all you had to do was take a number randomizer of your TBR and read whatever book it picked. So out of the 10 books that I had, this is the one I got. I was disappointed with this book. It was a 3-star read for me. Nothing wrong with it, it just wasn't what I wanted it to be. I wanted it to be a very, let's not get into that. Let me tell you what this book is. What this book is it is a YA fantasy based on a girl who is a tailor's daughter, and she's very, very good at what she does. She's a very talented tailor, but things being what they are, as a girl, she's not taken seriously in her craft. I wanted this to be a very craft, textile-centric book. I wanted it to be a lot more about her work as a tailor and what she did to bring that to the story. And it started off that way. It was a really strong start in that regard, but about midway through the book, it kind of became more of a traditional YA fantasy book with the quest and, you know, which is fine. Like I said, it was not a bad book by any means. I just wanted more sewing, less quest work. So, 3-star read, divination class. Moving on. City of Ghost by Victoria Schwab. This was for my charms class. The prompt was to read a white covered book inspired by the Lumos charm. As you can see, this is not a completely white covered book, but again, working with what we got. I rated this 3 stars as well. I wasn't totally sure when I rated it, if I was being entirely fair to the book, because it is a middle grade, and I rated it 3 stars because I found it to be a little simplistic. And at the time I was like, well, am I being fair? It is a middle grade. Maybe it's, you know, supposed to be a more simple story. However, since I've read this book, I've read several other middle grades that were much higher rated, much more complex stories, but still obviously middle grade. So yeah, I don't think I rated it unfairly. It was a nice story. It's about a girl who is able to see ghosts, and her parents have kind of it is an interesting premise because her parents have a ghost hunting show, but they're not actually able to see ghosts, only she can. It takes place in Edinburgh, which I loved. So it had very nice atmospheric writing, but again, just not the most complex plot, I felt. 3 stars, Chom's class. Next, this is my first 4-star read of the month. This is The Guest List by Lucy Foley. It was my April Book of the Month pick. This is a thriller. It was for my Defense Against the Dark Arts class, which was to read a book on a coastal setting. This takes place on an island off the coast of Ireland, and it's about a wedding that happens at this very old venue on the island, and essentially it's about the murder of someone on the guest list. I rated this 4 stars because while I didn't love the book, I didn't like any of the characters. I found all of the characters very annoying, which is usually a big turnoff for me. I need to like who I'm reading about. This book was so freaking intense. Could not put it down. Read it in like 36 hours, which really isn't that all you want from a thriller, is for it to be an intense, grab you by the seat of your pants, can't put it down read. So for that reason, it is 4 stars. I'm not sure if it'll be the most memorable book. I think it wasn't a book that lingered with me. Like, once I'd finished it, I had to finish it while I was reading it. I had to know what happened. But once I did know what happened, that was about it. So, as a thriller, really, really good. I'm not sure it brings much else to the table, though. Next 4-star read was Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. This was for my History of Magic class, which is to read a book about witches. Stretched it a little bit because while this is all about magic users, and there's a very detailed magic system in this book taking place in Yale, I don't think the term witch was ever actually used. As I said, I rated this 4 stars. So I went into this book thinking it was a standalone. I did not realize until I was about 3/4 of the way through this book that this is actually the first in a series. And I'm wondering if I knew that, I would have read it differently. This book is about a girl named Alex who is accepted on a scholarship program to Yale, and part of her scholarship is that she has to basically monitor all of these old magical societies and make sure that they're following the rules and they're not harming the civilians out in town and that sort of thing. Things I really liked about this book: I thought it was an incredibly unique, complex world. I think Leigh Bardugo just did a great job of bringing Yale and all the societies and everything to life. Love that. I really like the characters. I thought Alex was very interesting. I am glad that it is a series because I do want to know more about her, and the side characters I thought were great. This book has some of the best side characters out there. I love that. Things I did not like, and this is something that's becoming a bit of a pet peeve. When a book, so time jumps, right? If there's one time jump in the book, that's fine. We're going along, everything's great. Something big happens, and then we jump forward 5, 10, however many years, and we're reflecting on that event. That's fine, that doesn't bother me. What I don't like is when a book jumps back and forth consistently, like this one does. I don't like that. I prefer a much more linear timeline. I find that a much easier path to follow. Yeah, I don't like the time jumps. I thought that was annoying. I also didn't like the change in perspectives. If it's gonna have a change in perspective, I need like something illustrating to me right away, either a chapter header or something along those lines that boldly states, this is who's talking now. Okay, now this is who's talking. I need that. Otherwise, I'll read 2 or 3 paragraphs before I realize, oh, Alex isn't talking anymore, this other guy is. So that I struggled with a little bit, but other than that, it was a very good book. I'm very excited to read the sequel. Wish it was coming out sooner. I don't know. 2 years is a long time for me to wait for new books anymore. That's going to be hard. Next 4-star read, I have Moonstruck by, who did this? That's a lot of names. I'm not sure who's, I actually don't know who's the artist and who's like the author or whatnot. But what we have here is a graphic novel, Volume 1, Magic to Brew. And this is a magical world. It's basically a college campus setting. And you got werewolves, you have vampires, you have a centaur. It's a lot of fun. Very light, very funny. I was smiling like the entire time I was reading this. It's very, very cute. I love the art style. I love this very, I don't know if you can see that very well, but like this more cartoonish art style. I really don't like, I don't care for graphic novels or comics that are a more realistic art. So, very cute, very funny, very good pick-me-up book during these times. It was a little simple. It didn't really have a super complex plot, but still super cute. I already have the sequel, Volume 2, on order. Should be coming in the next couple weeks. So, that's nice. Oh, and I didn't say, Moonstruck was for my potions class, which was to read a book under 150 pages. This doesn't actually have page numbers on it, but we're pretty confident it's under 150 pages. Now, moving on to my 5-star reads of the month. This was interesting. I didn't realize this until I started getting everything organized for this video. So as I said, I had 2 5-star reads for this month. They could not be more different. I just thought that was really funny. First up, I have The Bromance Book Club by Lisa K. Adams. This was for my Muggle Studies class, which was just to read a contemporary. This book was so freaking fun. I just loved it so, so much. Basic premise. We have a guy who is married and his marriage has hit a serious rough patch. They are talking about divorce. He's moved out of the house, decides he wants to fix his marriage, and to do it, he gets together with a bunch of his other guy friends, and they solve their marital problems with romance books. I love that premise. It's so, so great. It's so great. So this group of guys who are all like, sports people. I don't know what, athletes. That's the term. They're all athletes. Our main guy is on the Nashville baseball team. Did they actually say what the team name was? I don't remember the name of the team. I'm sure it's in here somewhere. He's on the Nashville baseball team, whatever they are. And these problems in his marriage start coming up, and he moves out of the house. His wife requests a divorce. He doesn't want to get divorced. And when he takes his problems to his friends, they say, hey, we have this book club where we read romance novels, and we take all the stuff that's in the romance novels and we apply it to our actual lives and our actual relationships, and good things happen from that. And I just loved it. I'm a little apprehensive. So this is the first of a series. I really, really want to read the sequel. However, the sequel is following different characters. So like side characters in this book are going to be the main characters in the next book, which I'm not sure how I feel about, but I'm going to read it anyway because this was just so much fun. 5 stars, Romance Book Club. Love it. The second 5-star read was The Mercies, which, can we just take a minute to look at this stunner of a cover? Oh my lord. This is one of the most beautiful covers out there. So this is the paperback UK version. I actually went out of my way to order this off of Book Depository in order to get this specific copy. the UK, or not the American version and the hardback edition is not, I don't think it's as nice of a cover. This is just glorious. This was for the herbology prompt, which was to read a book starting with the letter M. So this is a fictionalization of a real life event taking place around a storm that happened in 1617 off the coast of Norway. There was an island. On this island there was a village. All this village was populated by fishermen, and all the fishermen were out when this huge storm happened. And so basically this huge storm came in, all the boats sunk, all the men died. Now the women have to take over the roles that are traditionally the man's job. So now they're fishing and they're taking care of the reindeer and butchering the reindeer and all these male jobs that they have to do because the men are gone. But, you know, it being 1617, that's kind of frowned upon behavior for women to do these jobs. And so there ends up becoming a bit of a rift between the women, and one side is like, no, we can't be doing this. We just have to wait patiently and help will come, and we can't be doing this. And then the other half is like, we're hungry. We need a fish. We're going to go fish. So that's happening on the island. Then off the island, back on the mainland, I guess, on Norway, the big cities, which relatively speaking, whatever big city entails in 1617, get word of these women sustaining themselves out on this island, and that's kind of not encouraged, I guess you could say. Basically, some men hear about what's happening on the island, and they're like, that's not good. Women taking care of themselves? What? And they go out to the island to kind of figure out what's actually happening, and I'm not sure how much farther I can go without spoilers. It's probably not a spoiler. It's 1617. There are women taking care of themselves, and men are suspicious of that. And what do men accuse women of in 1617 when they want those women gone? It's witchcraft. They suspect the women of witchcraft, and they start questioning people and putting people on trial, and it's this whole thing. And towards the end of the book, we do see the result of that questioning and the trials and whatnot. However, that's the very end of the book. The majority of the book is just observing these women, this group of women in this bizarre, could not have been predicted situation, and how they interact with each other and how they're each dealing with this crazy situation. And it was just the most fascinating book. It was beautiful. It was painful. It was a painful read. I cried, but it was gorgeous. And it's one of those books that sticks with you. You know what I mean? Like, I'm still thinking about this book. I'm still thinking about just, there's one scene in this book about, there's one woman who's married to like the head interrogator, and they've recently married. They're far away from her home. She wants to get in touch with her father and her sister, and she can't because she doesn't know how to write. She has to rely on her husband, who she doesn't trust, who she doesn't really like, to allow and to facilitate this communication with her family. And that scene, that image was just so powerful to me, because I know that living in the day and age that I do, am very privileged. Like, we can talk all day about feminism and the current issues facing women right now, but man, 1600s was just not even on the spectrum that we can relate to. It was crazy. It was absolutely crazy, and I can't imagine. I cannot even imagine being a woman in that day and age. Yeah, that could be like a whole video on its own, me talking about that. So that's all I'm going to say about that. This was an amazing book. 5 stars. Amazing. And that was the 7 books that I read in April for owls. Anything else that needs to be said? I think that's it that needs to be said, really. It was a really great reading month. It was a really great readathon. I'm very pleased with all the books that I read. I'm very pleased with what a good variety of books I got. That was one of my goals for this year, was to read more different books. And I think I definitely accomplished that this month. Look at that. There's like, I don't think I have 2 of the same genre there. There's something from every different genre. I guess you could say I got 3 fantasies, but like I have a middle grade, an adult, and a YA fantasy. So, you know, close enough. So yeah, that was my owls. I am very excited for the newts happening later this year. I'll definitely be participating in that. I don't think they've put out prompts for that yet, so I have no idea what I'll be reading, but I will be participating in it, and it's going to be a good time.